Hello and welcome to Fred Asquith on Film again, at Fred Asquith on Film, TikTok and Instagram. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can listen, watch, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And this is kind of a one-off, a bit of a bonus review episode, simply to review Bring Her Back, the new horror film from Danny and Michael Philippou. And that's literally all I'm going to do in this episode. And so you might be like, maybe I won't listen to it because I'm not really bothered about that film. Just take a moment because it's my favourite movie of the year so far. Spoiler alert on my opinion, right? But stick around if you want to hear why. And if you've already seen it and you want to revel and wallow in why this is such a brilliant film, join me. Let's do so together. So that is literally the intro and we're going to get straight the fuck into it. So Bring Her Back has been out in the US for 400 years. That's an interesting part of this. And the reason why this is a bonus episode and wasn't part of the Fantastic Four review episode I did last Friday is partly because I went on for so fucking long about Fantastic Four, which I enjoyed. But it's also partly because I got the release date, the UK release date wrong for Bring Her Back. I thought it was out 1st of August and I went to a preview on Tuesday a week before. And I was like, I'll save that for the 1st of August poddy. And then, anyway, it turns out it was out Friday, 25th of July, same day as Fantastic Four, or same weekend as Fantastic Four. And so I just fucked up, basically. The reason why I fucked up, though, is because, like I say, it's been out in the US for 400 years. And it's quite aggravating when that happens. I spoke on a recent episode about how that's happening more often recently. And it's frustrating because I feel like it used to happen a lot when I was a kid, even with big tentpole movies. And then it kind of frittered away. And now it happens more and more and more, specifically with A24 movies. A24's release strategy seems to be US first, UK second. That's fucking annoying. So I had to fucking ignore reviews and spoilers for this for months. And I successfully did so, actually. I managed to somehow still go into this movie blind. And I was excited for this movie for a long, long time. Basically, ever since Talk to Me came out, which is the first movie from the directors of this movie, which is Danny and Michael Philippou, a.k.a. the Philippou brothers, a.k.a. the Raka Raka Squad? What is it called? They were originally on YouTube called the Raka Raka something. Maybe brothers as well. And they directed Talk to Me. I think it was 2022 that movie came out. I think that is my favourite horror movie of the 21st century. I think it is sublime. And so I was looking forward to their follow-up ever since. If you haven't seen Talk to Me, that is going to feature a bit in my review of Bring Her Back. So if you haven't seen it, really do go watch that before you go see this, because I do think the two movies are speaking to each other a little bit. Anyway, so I've been looking forward to it. So I've managed to avoid the reviews, go in blind. I went in blind for Talk to Me. I didn't even know what it was at the time. Anyway, we're back. New movie, Bring Her Back, which is also starring Sally Hawkins, as we know, a British actress who's in like Happy Go Lucky and Submarine and stuff. And also some other, I think Billy Barrett is also a British actor who is one of the main, he is kind of, I guess he's kind of the main character in this, but he's doing an Aussie accent. This is technically an Australian horror film. Danny and Michael Philippou are Australian bros. If you want to Google the plot synopsis of this, like, go do that in your own time. Like, I'm not going to start detailing the plot of this. I guess a setup would be that a stepbrother and sister are put into foster care after the death of their dad, after the traumatic sudden death of their dad. And so straight off the bat, actually, this is probably a good way to start this. Straight off the bat, there was some really, really, really huge parallels with Talk to Me. And there was just quite a lot of gender switches going on between the two movies. So in this movie, we have a male protagonist kind of brother character. In Talk to Me, we had a female protagonist sister character. And in this, we have then a female secondary character who's like a sibling. And in Talk to Me, we had a male. And then in Talk to Me, the mum had died. In this, the dad has died. In terms of the setup, the dynamics of the characters and the themes involved, siblings dealing with grief, let's just put it plainly, they're pretty similar. And that's not a negative, but that's just something that struck me immediately. And I like I say, I do feel like the two movies are in conversation with each other. I saw this movie at an influencer screening, which is an annoying term, but it's apt for this situation. The reason why I'm referring to it as that is because it was marred by what you would probably expect at influencer screenings, which is not what I get a lot of the time, which is that there was fucking disruptions and noise and phones all the way through. I couldn't believe it, right? If the people next to me are listening to or watching this podcast, which I doubt it, because I would hope only film lovers listen to or watch this podcast, right? And to me, they can't be film lovers. But if the people next to me are watching this, yes, I'm talking about you. And yes, I was too scared to say anything to you. But this is really how I felt about it, right? They were on their phones and talking throughout the entire film. From moment one, as soon as the credits rolled, you know when you're like, oh shit, here we go. Because there'll be a comment that is just completely inane about something completely not necessary to comment about. It'll be to do with like the music or something. It'll just be like oh fucking hell, just like that at the start. And I'm like, oh, that didn't need to be out loud. And then, you know, quite like basic things are happening, normal horror movie setup, and just like oh shit, things like that. Oh, here we go. Like, oh no, is she gonna? Oh no, don't do. Commenting, mate, to each other and just to the outside world, like really loud. Like, I'll try and do an impression of how loud it was. Oh shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh shit. It's not like, oh shit. You know, it's at a level where I was like, am I going to mention this? And I was like, can everyone else hear this? Am I just hearing this because this is next to me? And when the person next to me whipped out their phone and went on Snapchat, I'm like, am I in like a bubble? And then someone on the front row whipped out their phone on the front row and everyone could see it. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is going on? Anyway, I spoke with people after. They could all hear these people and I should have fucking said something. But I didn't say, I just was like, I felt scared to say something because I was like, if no one else can hear this, everyone's going to hear me or see me say something, and then I look like the dickhead, right? And I can't explain to the entire cinema after why I'm not the dickhead, but I was like, then maybe I'm disrupting the screen because maybe then they're going to disagree with me. What am I going to say? Like, oh, would you mind not talking? Then they're going to be like, we're not talking, or we're not talking too loud, or we're just trying to enjoy ourselves, or shut up, or whatever. If they don't agree, then I've made it worse. And so I was like, right, I'll shut up about it. I even considered moving to the front at one point. I didn't in the end because I was like, then I'm going to disrupt everyone even more. So this is all a long point to say, do you know what? I forgot about them. I forgot about it. That's how good this film was. About halfway through this film, I was like, I'm enjoying this way too much to even give a shit about this. And you know, towards the third act of a horror film and it gets fucking nuts, everyone in the cinema is having a vocal reaction to that kind of like, oh, fuck, like that kind of thing, right? And so it actually drowned out what was previously a massive disturbance. So that's how good this film is. I was able to get over the worst cinema experience of my year so far and see what I think is the best film of the year so far. So in recent times, I'd say not so much recently we've used this term, but like in recent times, we've seen the resurgence of quote unquote elevated horror. I think this was probably kicked off roughly around the time of It Follows, which was a brilliant horror film in the mid-10s, I think, just roughly. And then that's since been followed up by other elevated horror. The term, I guess, means like, I know you guys know this, but the term, I guess, means in my head, unpretentious, but, well, sometimes pretentious actually, but very serious, in-depth, theme-rich, complex horror movies. So, like, it's not just like The Conjuring, which I also like, by the way, but it's not just like The Conjuring, which is like blah, jump scare, blah, 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 which I think there's absolutely a place for that, and there's a place for the Terrifier series, there's a place for Saw movies, there's a place for everything in horror. I think it's such a liberating genre. But elevated horror, I would see as like chin-strokey horror, for better, for worse, pretentious or unpretentious. Chin-strokey horror of the last 10 years, and that would be It Follows, and also just good, by the way. Elevated to mean like they're actually very good movies as well as horror movies, which I know is quite contentious to say, because you would hope that horror movies aren't disadvantaged simply by being horror. And sometimes I think horror and comedy are. You know, when was the last time a horror or comedy won an Oscar? Well, Everything Everywhere All at Once, but enough about that. So it's been a trend recently. So through It Follows, I would say The Babadook is also an Aussie movie included in that. Midsummer, Hereditary, and then recently we've been getting kind of funner entries into that kind of resurgence, which I would say is more like Barbarian, and Zach Cregger's going to come back and do Weapons soon. Which leads me on to say, I think that the relevance of that to this film is that this is not elevated horror and it's not dumb either. And I'm going to use one aspect of the term elevated horror in this sense, which is that it's not pretentious horror, right? This isn't pretentious and it's not dumb. And I think that is such a beautiful level to find ourselves in. It does its job effectively for the chin strokers among us, the horror movie lovers among us. And like, I listened to Mark Kermode's reviews. He's a big horror movie aficionado, and he loved this movie. Equally, the people next to me in the cinema, I don't believe are horror or movie aficionados, and they fucking loved it too, by the sounds of it. I would say I'm in the middle of that. I love it. I feel like it's one of those brilliant horror movies that is going to work for everyone. It's going to work for the nerds, and it's also going to work for the Saturday night audience who don't even know what the fuck it is and they just want to fling some popcorn around. I think that's fantastic. It's always compelling. It's not predictable. It doesn't feel contrived. So that's again a horror genre issue, I guess, that I want to talk about in general, which is, you know, that horror problem of like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go in that room. I would turn the lights on. Why are they still in the house? That kind of thing. There isn't a moment in this movie that feels contrived or takes you to that precipice of like, this probably wouldn't happen at this point. Like the justifications and the motivations for them still being in this situation is still apparent to me. And it's gruesome. It's very fucking gruesome. Go off, sis. Like, go make it as gruesome as you fucking want. I love gruesomeness in horror movies. I mean, what are we all here for, right? Let's just crack the fuck on. Make it fucked up. And this is fucked up. And it's not fucked up in a gratuitous sense. What do I mean by that? It's not fucked up in the sense of it's all dark and grisly and it's just doing it for the sake of it. Like, this is a well-lit movie. A lot of this takes place in the daytime. It's not doing cheap, grisly scares, right? It's not just showing you horrible things and saying, get a load of that, okay? It's all baked into the storyline. There's all justification for it. And it's all delivered to you in a really novel way. Like I say, like well-lit daytime scenes where really gruesome things are going on, and yet it kind of looks like an Australian soap opera at the same time. Like, there's a moment where an Australian care worker is like running away from this like garden shed with all sorts of gruesome things in it. And she goes, come on, love, get to the car. Come on, fuck. Like this. And I was like, it literally sounds like an episode of Neighbours gone wrong, right? And, but I love that. Like, it looks and sounds simple, and yet it is so fucking gruesome. So when it starts to escalate and the gruesomeness ramps up, I was watching through my fingers, and like I say, the vocal reactions of the cinema were very, very audible, especially from my left. And that's what you want from a horror movie. Sipping my tea. So let's just get into some details now. So this is I'm going to start getting into some spoilers now. I'm surprised you got this far if you don't want to hear spoilers. Like, you just don't listen to reviews if you don't want to hear spoilers, in my opinion. But anyway, just so you know, I'm getting into spoilers now. In terms of the gruesomeness, when you think about literally what's happening in this movie, it's actually fucking crazy. For those of you who've seen it, and if you want to listen to this and you're not going to see it, whatever. But this is very gruesome. Okay, what I'm about to say is very, very gruesome. So if you do not want to hear this, please turn off. This is an 18 rated movie, so even saying the words feels 18 rated. There is certain points like where we've got a small boy like eating a knife, essentially, where we've got the same kid eating like the frozen remains of Sally Hawkins' daughter in a shed, and like you know, I won't go into more detail than that, but like the imagery that is forced upon you in this movie is asking a lot of you, and it's done in such a way that it doesn't feel caricatured, like it doesn't feel silly. It feels like black comedy at times, but it doesn't feel silly. It feels like, oh fuck, like it feels very real, I guess. Anyway, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. So, like I say, there's similar themes, and the casting is fantastic. So, I do think this is a strength of Philippou Brothers, is their casting. Talk to Me cast chemistry and performances were fantastic. And here, same again, typified by Sally Hawkins, who has basically taken her character from Happy Go Lucky, the Mike Leigh movie. I think it's Mike Leigh. Where she's like this kind of happy, chappy, motherly character, and somehow made it kind of sinister and fucked up and just gaslighty, don't trust her, toxic, horrible woman, but with a smile on her face. And again, not in a contrived way, not in like a sinister smile on her face. Like she's jolly and fucking sinister. And like, as soon as the movie started, I was like, have I seen Sally Hawkins in a horror movie before? I don't think she's even been in one. But my instinct was, God, she's going to be fucking great at this. Like, I can't wait for the next 90 minutes and watching her cook in this role. Because you know from the setup that like she's going to be the source of fuckery. And it's so fun to watch that play out. She was having a good time. And she's a brilliant, brilliant actor. And the young boy, the one who is doing unspeakable things that I just mentioned, is absolutely lights out. So what's his name? His name is Jonah Wren Phillips. He is lights out. He's so incredibly good. And the things that he's asked to do as I don't know what he must be, like a 13-year-old boy, is, like I say, unspeakable. And I always wonder about that on movie sets. Like, do they have a sense of what they're doing as kids? Or how it's going to come across? Can they see the film? I assume they can't. Anyway, the things that he's asked to do are ridiculous. You really do believe that this boy is like possessed. This boy is a demon. This boy is like up to summit, right? You really do feel the threat from this boy, and it's not laughable. You know, when kids try and be sinister, you're just like, shut the fuck up, mate. You don't get that with this guy. Fantastic performance. And another similar thing I said about the casting and the similar themes. Another similar quality of this movie is the sound design. I've been kind of loving sound design lore a lot more recently since Alex Garland made Civil War and Warfare, and I've been enjoying going to the Dolby Atmos screens and like hearing just the weight of that sound design. And this, Talk to Me, was just so brilliantly done. Like when there was those moments of possession with the hand, for those who've seen it, and the sound design used to denote like what world this possessed character is in, how this person died, or like they'll use, like for instance, this one woman clearly was supposed to have drowned and she's come back from the other realm, and like we've got these like guttural water noises, these like gargling, like really cool, like deep bassy water noises around that scene. And they actually use a similar technique because there's also drowning elements to this plot, and they use a similar technique in this movie, and it's so effective. Their sound design is really rich and textured and full,
And I'm so happy that I saw this in a cinema with a good sound system. So if you care for that, then find the best sound system near you. If you're in London, I would say best sound system's got to be the Odeon Lux West End, but I don't know if this is going to play there. They tend to release their listings very late, but obviously they'll be out by now. So I love the Aussie accents. Like I say, it does feel, the Aussie accent is just innately funny. And this is a funny movie. Even though it's incredibly gruesome, it's properly funny. And horror, the best horror movies have moments of light relief. But sometimes those moments of light relief can take over the horror or diffuse the horror too much. And they have to be right, they have to be placed correctly so not to do that. And the Philippou brothers, who are clearly really comedically minded off the back of their YouTube work, the Philippou brothers know exactly how to do this. Talk to Me in the first act is genuinely hilarious at times. And even in the first pivotal horror scene, there are some really funny beats. Same here, like there are funny beats amongst horror scenes, but I would say in this one it's more like relief funny, just like oh god, like or more like shock funny, like oh my god, like that kind of thing. I love doing impressions of laughs. We had a lot of that in the cinema from me and around me, whereas Talk to Me I guess was more like punchliney or more more kind of gaudy comedy. This is like shock comedy, relief comedy, and it's very, very well pitched. And so I was completely engrossed from start to finish. I was absolutely scared. I was gripped. I didn't feel it was contrived. I didn't question the decisions, and I loved the themes that draw on the themes from Talk to Me. I love the way that they were discussed, and I love the message that it's trying to give. And so I think that Danny and Michael Philippou have ascended in my head above Zach Cregger, above Ari Aster. I don't know if Ari Aster would even want to even be in this conversation anymore because he's not doing horrors anymore. But as the best horror movie directors working today, I would say their competition is obviously Jordan Peele, right? And this is recency bias. You know, I love Nope. I love Get Out. Jordan Peele's definitely got the juice. But for now, I want to give Michael and Danny Philippou their flowers and say that they're the best horror directors working today, in my opinion. And this is my fave movie of the year so far. I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. Talk to Me as 5 stars. For me to give something 5 stars, I have to watch it again. I don't think I've ever given anything 5 stars on first watch, other than maybe like There'll Be Blood. But that's an extra special. I'll watch this again. If it holds up like Talk to Me did, more than happy to bump it up to 5. But listeners of this podcast will know that a rating above even 3.5 is unusual for me. A rating above 4 is almost like once a year. 4.5 star for this movie is an absolute go and fucking see it. It's an absolute banger. If you love horror, you will love this. If you don't love horror, go see it, but watch out. Yeah, I'll leave it as a short episode for today. Thank you for listening. And thank you for following this journey of at Fred Asquith on Film, TikTok, Instagram, and listen and watch wherever you like. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Tell your friends. I'll see you next time. Happy Gilmore 2 came out on Friday, and if I do care to watch that, I will give you an opinion probably in the next episode because I'm a fan of the first movie, but I imagine this one's going to be shit. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.